afraid I've got some bad news. I knew it. I love when he does that.
SCU versus the Acclaimed. One of the new tag teams. They've signed 18 new tag teams, trying to get them all over at the same time, and all of them are greener than pepper trees. I saw the Acclaimed's entrance. Rotten music, mugging for the camera. One guy does rap. Was he lip syncing a pre-recorded track? It looked like he tried to come in a couple of times before it actually got there.
No, I think he was rapping. Was he on doing it live?
Yeah, I
think so.
Well, that's part of the problem too. He was rapping. Anyway, so they're rappers, and they came out with a boombox, and they did a rap, and Kazarian rapped back and was better than the rapper guy. And I invoked the rap rule. I don't want to see any rappers. I don't want to hear any rappers. The music was the shits. I zipped through this. I love Chris Daniels and Frankie Kazarian, but life is too short. One of the rappers hit poor Chris Daniels with the boombox, and the other one pinned him. And then they rapped at the Young Cucks, is what they called them, and challenged them for next week. So I can't figure out who the fucking baby faces and heels are again. And the Bucks just happen to hang out at ringside holding their belts in a contrived way, but they're all hanging out ringside. Did I miss anything in that match?
Not really. We're back to Daniels coming out with his whole little silly microphone and everything, which just doesn't work for him. They were teasing some dissension between Kazarian and Daniels when they went to...
Oh, yeah, they were arguing with each other.
When they went to soothe the Young Bucks, who were at
Maybe
ringside.
they ought to bring Emi Sakura back and have Chris Daniels hold the mic stand for her to sing like Freddie Mercury.
Well, we'll see what happens, but the Young Bucks sitting in the crowd with their belts were challenged. They don't know how to act like baby faces. They don't know how to act like heels. They just come across like douchebags. And then that was that. I don't know what to think about this guy's rapping, because in one way, if he's really doing it freestyle, it's impressive. But in the other way, I don't know if it's his voice or if it's because we saw John Cena do this 15 years ago. But there's something I don't like about it, too. I don't know. I'm going to give this some time to figure this one out.
You know who the best rapper in wrestling was ever, in my opinion?
PN News.
No, Paul Heyman. Because he was doing, I was in Knoxville running Smoky Mountain one time. He was doing color, Heyman was, as Paul Lee Dangerously on one of the WCW shows. And I would watch the WCW show. It was on in Knoxville. And I had it on one day. And Heyman and Jim Ross were talking about PN News. And Heyman said, his name is PN News and he raps all the time. But the funny thing about him is his raps don't rhyme. We know that he can sing and we know that he can dance. But with a belly that size, how do he make romance? Yeah, anyway. Next match. Serena Deeb and the Big Swole versus Ivelisse and Diamante. And as good as Serena is, Swole is worse. And I invoke the tooth and nail rule. I know you sometimes like to watch Big Swole to see if something will be really funny.
Oh, yeah. No, she's so awful that I enjoy her so much. She has the worst music. She has charisma. It's just she can't work in any sense of the word. So which makes it funnier when during this match, I think it was Excalibur who said she was trained by Dean Malenko. And I'm like, no, she wasn't. Come on.
What?
So that's a new interesting little thing we could throw in there, that Big Swole, who can't get any of the basics right in any of these matches, who is just horrible in the ring. Apparently the latest to come out of the Malenko training school.
You know why they did that? That's a fundraising effort that they're doing. They figure if Dean hears that, he's going to send them a large check not to say it again.
If Jody hears that, he's going to change his name.
All right. So in this program filled with outlaw talent, goofy booking, heels mad at each other, you can't tell who's who. The best tag team in the world works for this company, FTR, and we get to see them for 45 seconds when they hijack the headsets at the announce desk to complain about being overlooked for, and I quote, a fake-ass Tarzan and a grown man in a dinosaur costume. Stating the obvious, in other words. They get 45, and because they're trying to do a promo into the headset microphone, their audio was fucking distorted, so it sounded like a goddamn CB radio call on this fucking outlaw cable access level program. That's what we get of the best tag team in the world, but we're about to see Pippi Longstocking in action. They can't get out of their own way.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 237 of the Hoots Podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed your week so far. It's Thursday, December 24th, 2020, which it can only mean one thing, and one thing only. It's Christmas Eve, and it should be the most jolliest time of the year, pal. We've gone through Easter, we've gone through Thanksgiving, and all these other holidays, stuck in our bunkers, just waiting for any sense of levity down the road, and we still came and get our situations right with stimulus packages, politic, other issues, and just society as a whole. We have a lot of issues, but fear not, this is a podcast about levity and having good vibes and positive energy. Do we crack jokes on here? Yes, we do. Do we have a filter on here? No, we don't. But this is a positive escape for all of you guys. I hope each and every single one of you enjoy your holidays, no matter which one you celebrate. And just appreciate the support that you've given this podcast. It's been very humbling. Even if you listen to the show for like 3 minutes or watch these videos here on Facebook, it really means a lot. So just really quick for plugs, you could follow me on Twitter if you like, at the Hoots Podcast. I'm also on Instagram at Joshie Lopez 94. Make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. Don't forget, later on in the podcast, we'll have the infamous Thoughts of Dericho with the one and only Brother Carter at the end of the podcast per ritual. Also, we have our world famous What the Hell is Wrong with AEW segment, which we'll get to later on in the podcast as well. So, lots to get into. We got to review TLC from this past Sunday from the Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. And just a lot of fun stuff to get into today. So, with all that being said, I guess we should get this ring on the road, shall we, pal? I will say this, though. If you could, please subscribe to the podcast right now so it comes to you free of charge every single Thursday on Apple Podcasts. Like I said, anywhere you get your podcast from. You don't have to pay a cent to listen to this podcast. Hell, the best part of it, if you get the audio version, you don't have to see me. That's the best part of it, but more important, I'd like to see some reviews from you guys. Let us know what you think of the podcast, positively or constructively or negatively, wherever floats your boat. I just want to gauge on how you guys feel about the podcast. So please do that on any of your favorite podcasting platforms. Just type in Hoots Podcast and it'll pop up for you. So I'll say this. We'll get into right now the Good Brothers Q&A session. Now, what is the Good Brother Q&A session? We here at the Hoots Podcast have no fans. I don't believe in fans. My ego's not that big where I need to say, oh, I got a gazillion fans. That's not how we roll here. We come here and have a lot of fun, and we want this to be like a positive mental escape for you guys. So me and Brother Carter are not above anybody. We're just wrestling fans like you guys are. And so if you're good friends of us and you want to send us questions, all you have to do is hit me up on Twitter at the Hoots Podcast. You can also send me questions at thehootspodcast@gmail.com. It's a pretty simple deal, and we always get great questions from the Good Brothers each and every single week. That's why I call it the Good Brothers Q&A session. So here we go. We're going to start per ritual with the one and only Chris Zaletta, which you can follow him at Twitter at xteenZaletta24x on the Twitters. And Chris reaches out and says, "What's up, Oos? Here's some questions for the Q&A this week. Favorite Christmas movie?" Oh, man. Starting off hot, pal. What's your favorite Christmas movie? Shit. I'm the worst. I'll admit, guys, I am the worst when it comes to like movie titles and song titles. I have to see it to remember it, type of thing. So I don't know if you constitute this as a Christmas movie, but whatever the last Best Man movie that came out a few years ago, I think that one is probably one of my favorites. I don't. One thing I'll say is Home Alone is not a Christmas movie, and neither is Die Hard. I have to dig into some research, but I'd probably say the last Best Man movie was my favorite Christmas movie. All right, if you're Philly, are you trading Ben Simmons for James Harden? No, because neither of them do anything for either franchise. I respect James Harden and his scoring ability, but facts are facts. He's not reliable or a guy that's going to take you over the top in the playoffs. So unless you're just there to pad stats and just feel good about yourself and pat yourself on the shoulder, then of course you could trade for James Harden. And it's crazy. But they have one thing in common. Ben Simmons and James Harden just don't show up in the playoffs. So I just don't know what that does for Philly. Okay, you got James Harden and Joel Embiid. Awesome. I just don't think it would work, Chris. I have no idea where James Harden goes. And you guys know my deal here. For those who do listen to the podcast each week, I am not a fan of super teams, and we got to have 4 all-stars on one team to constitute a title contender. I just don't believe in that crap. That's not why I enjoyed the NBA as a fan back in the late 90s and early 2000s. I just feel like the spirit of competition is gone in the NBA, and it's not fun to watch anymore, to be honest with you. So, Philly's in a conundrum. Do you keep Ben Simmons? Do you keep Joel Embiid? There's a lot of options to weigh in there, you know? All right. How many titles do you think the Bulls could have won if Derrick Rose didn't get injured? Well, I think context is king. Do I think the Bulls would have won a championship if Derrick Rose did not get injured in 2012? Yes. How many? I'd probably say 1 for now. And also, this is the time where they had the whole big 3 with LeBron and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. And everybody knew that they were going to dominate that era of basketball, and even before Rose got injured, they lost in 5 games in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Heat in 2011. So I don't know if the Bulls during that time period would have had a new dynasty. They had the energy, they had the spirit. You know, Joe Kino is still in his prime, and that was a good squad, and Tom Thibodeau was the coach back then. I do believe the Bulls would have won at least 1 championship. I just don't know if they would have had a little three-peat of their own. But that was a fun group to watch back then, and it's just a shame that Derrick Rose got injured. It really is. Next question. Should New Japan get away from the IWGP and Intercontinental titles being together? Yes. I totally believe that, Chris. And I like the fact that Wrestle Kingdom is a 2-night event, but it also dilutes the G1 when you have to constantly do, what do you call it, walking games, or these scenarios with the last 2 Wrestle Kingdoms of okay, Jay White's such an egomaniac that he corrupts his way into a title match at Wrestle Kingdom every year. I love the Switchblade. I love the character, but if you win the G1, you should main event Wrestle Kingdom, and that's it. But we always find these loopholes with New Japan now where Jay White's going to manipulate the system and get another title shot. And I have no problem with Jay White. Guys, Jay White's one of my favorite wrestlers with New Japan. But I just think you get more value out of keeping the world champion with the IC title as well, because the IC title can have more value because you have a better roster now, and you can give guys like Ishii a shot to have some bigger profile matches. But yes, I think this is overdue. I've been waiting for this to happen, and I really hope that they do separate the titles because yeah, it's cool visual to say, oh, this guy's the double champion, but you have a talented roster. Let the other people have a chance to vie for that IC title. Next question: who's the double champion at the Wrestle Kingdom? Kota Ibushi. That's my pick. A little early Wrestle Kingdom spoiler for you guys. Kota Ibushi, the new double champion in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Next question: where do you rank Rush amongst the current top champions of each company? Chris, I have to be honest with you, I've been out of the loop with Ring of Honor, so it's really hard for me to answer this question. I've seen Rush compete a couple of times. I'm pretty sure he's probably up in the top 10 of champions in any company, and he's a talented performer. I've just been really out of the loop with Ring of Honor, and then this goes into the next question. Where do you rank ROH's announce team? Well, for me, I'll say this, and this is something we'll tie into when I get to like the This Week in WWE segment, because there's just a lot of whining and bitching and complaining as per ritual when it comes to WWE programming and people not applying context to what they're actually producing. And I just think right now, especially in this element of where we don't have fans, and it's been like this since March, and you can't, I keep saying this, you can't view the show as if a crowd's there. You can't be booking a show as if 20,000 people are there. It's just a different environment, and I give all these companies as much flack as I give AEW each week. I give all these companies an immense amount of credit for trying things out of the box and doing something for the fans, and for the fact that we still have wrestling on TV right now. And I put this out on Twitter the other day. I really feel like all of us are taking wrestling for granted, and while we're in this element of, hey, we're in this pandemic and wrestling still one of the greatest escapes that I ever had in my life, and it's something there for me. And yeah, I'm very fortunate and honored for the fact that I could make somewhat of a living covering this business. And I think it's really sad, it's a bad reflection as us as a fan base, with the fact that we, instead of taking this opportunity to appreciate the art form of wrestling, we spin it to, oh, we pretend we're in boardrooms and that we're responsible for whether ratings trends are good or not, and allowing Twitter and other social media platforms to be the loudest voice in the room. And I just feel like all of us in general are taking wrestling for granted, and I'm sick of it. I really am. Because none of you have ever worked in the wrestling business. I've never worked in the wrestling business, so I'm not going to come in here and act as if I'm above anybody or I know more than other people. And it's just really unfortunate. And everybody only wants to talk about booking, right? That's the only thing wrestling fan cares about in 2020, right? Just booking. Just writing and booking. They don't care about matches. They don't care about the ambiance, the entertainment elements that come with pro wrestling. Oh, it's just about the pencil, right? So here's the issue that nobody really chooses to acknowledge, because just with any form of entertainment, any form of movies, television shows, your narrators are the ones are supposed to lead you right during a program. And as much as you want to talk about booking, the thing with the charm of the Attitude Era was the fact that you had the greatest announcer of all time in Jim Ross covering and protecting talents, even if there was shitty matches, and there were shitty matches and shitty angles during the Attitude Era. But nobody chooses to acknowledge that because it's not the popular thing to do. This is what wrestling fans do in 2020. They get triggered before they blink. They latch onto one performer and say, this person has to main event WrestleMania and beat Brock Lesnar. He does that, continues to be presented to be strong throughout the rest of the year, and then those same fans turn on him, and now those fans are suddenly Roman Reigns fans. I just find that to be very interesting. And I know I'm going in different circles here, but like, here's the thing, like, you have the Ring of Honor announce team. Ian Riccaboni's fine. I've liked Caprice Coleman's concert. I like the ROH announce team when Colt Cabana was there. Would I rank them as high in the top 3? Probably not, but here's my point. Where I'm going with all this. Like, as much as all of you like to harp and etch on booking and this and that and all the stuff that's so inconsequential to the overall point of pro wrestling, if your announce teams can't keep you in tune and following along with the program, then your show's not going to be good. It doesn't matter about who wins and loses. It really doesn't. It's about the stories that are told at the end of the day. Were you entertained by a match? Did the commentators keep you informed? Did you have enough stuff where you could start questioning where things are going? There's a lot of different things that go to pro wrestling, and I feel like a lot of us in the wrestling realm just are at a point where they just want to be led like babies, and we can't think for ourselves, that we need to have all the answers at all the times, and we need to be pampered down, and it's just funny, man, because it's like the same fan base that wants edgier content and all this stuff are the first people to get in their feelings and play into the PC culture. Like, I'm just so tired and just exhausted and drained with the hypocritical doctrine that spews out of wrestling Twitter. I just really am. I'm sorry for the rant here, but I really need to get that off my chest. All right, last question for Chris. When do you think we get Walter versus Finn Balor? I think we'll see that match, the first NXT UK takeover, once the fans get back to the arena. So I think that'll happen. Thanks for the questions, though, Chris. I really like those. All right. Next question comes from the good brother, Sam Piopo. You can follow him at Twitter at Second City Sam. Here we go, brother. He says, who are some wrestlers you would like to see CM Punk wrestle if he were to ever return? Oh, man. I'll put them in different categories. That's a good question. I got no idea. I think for me, I'd probably say, let's see, let's start with WWE. I like to see CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. I like to see CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. CM Punk versus Cesaro. CM Punk versus Aleister Black. I think that'd be really cool. Obviously, CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. NXT, you could say CM Punk versus Damian Priest, or CM Punk versus Killer Cross. CM Punk versus Tommaso Ciampa. CM Punk versus Johnny Gargano. AEW, CM Punk versus Darby Allin. CM Punk versus Brian Cage. I have no interest in CM Punk versus Jon Moxley because I've seen it already. Or Jericho. I don't want to see that either. CM Punk versus Olivier would be fine. New Japan, CM Punk versus Okada would be awesome, or Tanahashi for that matter. CM Punk versus Will Ospreay. There's so many options you can have with Punk coming back for a match. I think that'd be really cool, though, but we'll see what happens. Let's scroll back here and find these questions again. Okay. Just 1 second. I had it right here. It keeps scrolling off. Hey. Alright, where's that? Right, here we go. Who were you a bigger fan of, Eddie Guerrero or Chris Benoit? Well, Sam, to answer that question, I think for me, my favorite guy during that time period was Chris Benoit, and it's hard for me to talk about it due to obviously what went down with Chris and how the end of his life went down that way. For me, I just related a lot to Chris Benoit during that time period. He was my favorite wrestler at that time. My favorite WrestleMania match was the triple threat match with Benoit, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels, and just that match really resonated with me. And Chris was just killing it on all cylinders during that time period, whether it was matches and stuff he was doing. And he was, I wouldn't consider him an underdog, but he was just so damn good at what he did that, like, he was the leader in the locker room. He was the guy that led by example. And I just feel like obviously there's no justifying or anything about what Chris did with his family. It's unacceptable. I've watched the Dark Side of the Ring episode that they put on Vice on him and Eddie's death, which was a rough one to watch. And it gets hard talking about Chris Benoit because I loved watching him as a wrestler. I always had like the Undertaker as like my favorite wrestler all the time, like character wise, and then Benoit was like the technical guy. And then once the whole Benoit stuff happened, that switched to CM Punk. So, man, I always preferred Benoit, but that doesn't mean I didn't like Eddie. Eddie was fantastic and definitely one of a kind, and both of them would be missed. All right, last question for Sam. He says, how do you think Killer Kross will do on the main roster, or how much success he will have? I think that depends on Kross and what he wants out of this WWE experience. I think what they're doing with him in NXT is awesome. I love the entrance. Scarlett Bordeaux is in a waterfall class of her own. That's just top tier restaurant quality right there when it comes to waterfall. But I'm a big fan of Kross, and he has a bright future for him. I don't see why he couldn't have a lot of success. Obviously, these could change. Maybe people in the Raw or SmackDown writing teams have a different perspective of him. We never know. But I think Kross's talent will supersede any misconceptions or perceptions of how things would go if you went up to Raw or SmackDown. So I think you would have success because Kross is just that good. Like, he has that it factor. He can talk. He can wrestle. He's just freaking dope, and I'm happy for his success, and it's cool to see what he's doing right now on NXT. All right, the last questions we got here for the Good Brothers Q&A session this week comes from the one and only Nate the Great, which you can follow him at Twitter at Psycho Nagiri. Nate says, what were your top 5 favorite things that happened in 2020, not just wrestling? Well, that's a good question. Number 5, and this may be controversial, but I think this one's the most important one. It's the fact that a lot of us have actually put into action of things that we actually care about and want to call out. The stuff with the domestic violence and sexual abuse stuff that was going on in the wrestling industry and the Speak Out movement. I thought that was very progressive and productive for the industry. And I thought that was very productive because you can't have those type of people in any type of industry. And those people that got called out deserve to get called out, and they had the ramifications behind it. So that would be number 5. Number 4, man, that's a good question. Number 4 for me, this is going to be like a personal list. It may not be to what you guys expect, so just bear with me here. Number 4 will be to see the success for my buddy Jonathan Hood and the fact that he has now the morning slot with David Kaplan. Cap and J Hood every single Mondays through Fridays on ESPN 1000, WMVP Chicago. I'm just happy for Hoodie's success more than anything. So that'd be number 4. Number 3, just seeing how good my White Sox played last year and just a breakout year for the team. Even though we did not win in the opening round of the playoffs, there's just a lot of excitement and just good vibes going around with the White Sox right now, and I'm excited for their future, and that was really cool to see. Number 2, let's see. Man, number 2. I can't say wrestling. Oh, number 2. I'll just say, get to see people again going back to making movements and standing up. Just people not taking no for an answer, not giving up on themselves during this time period. I put this post on Facebook yesterday. I just want to give a shout out to all the content creators that continue to grind and continue on with their shows or websites or whatever during this time period. And I was looking at all the stuff that's going on and people who came back to podcasting. Like, look at, let's see. You look at Matt and Tony coming back together for TBD. That's awesome, And then you have Rant Foundation and all the stuff going on with Church. I think that was another cool movement and thing that happened in 2020. And then what else? Yeah, this is like the content creators continue to push on and thrive and adapt during these situations. I think that's been really cool. And then the number one thing is, humbly speaking, it's just the outpouring of support for this podcast and my website, ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. The success of that has really meant a lot to me. There's been a lot of hard work and time that's been invested in both of these projects, and I don't take what I do for granted. And I love what I do. I love wrestling. I love being part of the media. I love doing this stuff. This is my therapy. This is my escape. I love doing this type of stuff. So none of this ever feels like work for me because I just love what I do, And I feel like more times than not that I am doing a service, a good service to the wrestling fans out there and making this enjoyable experience for them and remind them that you could be a wrestling fan without thinking about booking and things that you're not responsible for, And that's the one that really stands out to me that's accomplished this year, There's been a lot of things that have been taken away from us this year, whether it be family members, jobs, whatever the situation is, but I've also been very blessed and grateful for the things that have came my way in 2020, and I'm just really excited for what's to come coming out of this pandemic more than anything. So that'd be number 1. All right. Do you think we'll ever see gimmick matches in New Japan like Steel Cage or TLC? I don't. It's very rare where you do have those type of gimmicky matches. I know that they had just regular no DQ matches in New Japan. Well, every match in New Japan is kind of no DQ in their own way. I mean, the referees are treated like shit out there, let's be honest, unfortunately. But I think, I don't think they would. I would love to. Like, it would be cool to see what an elimination chamber in New Japan would look like. I think that would be awesome. I don't think we'll have those type of matches. They're very, very set in their ways when it comes to the type of matches they want to produce. And that's fine. Like I said last week, not all wrestling promotions have to be presented the same way. Who's someone to look out for in 2021? Your boy. No, I'm kidding. Let's see. Well, last year when I got this question, I said it was Damian Priest. For 2021, I'll say Bronson Reed. I say look out for him. Continue to be on the lookout for Tiffany Thatcher. Also be on the lookout for Tyler Russ. I know I'm mentioning a lot of NXT names right now, but that's kind of the goal of NXT is placating to the future of the WWE. So those are the ones that stand out to me. I mean, in AEW, you can look out for a team called Bear Country, who's been making some appearances on AEW Dark recently. Those guys have really grabbed my attention. It's one thing where you get my attention from an AEW show that you are really good at what you do. So Bear Country is definitely somebody to be on the lookout for. What else? New Japan, I say just look out for more Juice Robinson, maybe finally reaching the heavyweight title scene. I say look out for that. Watch out for Tama Tonga as a singles performer in 2021. There's a lot of options there, but I like that question, Nate. By the way, I'll ask you guys those questions. Who's somebody to look out for in 2021 in your eyes? Who do you think is going to have a breakout year next year? I'd love to hear your responses for that. All right, guys. With that being said, we just concluded the Good Brothers Q&A session. As always, you can say your boy a question at the Hoots Podcast or email me at thehootspodcast@gmail.com. And thank you guys for the support. And when we come back, we'll be recapping what went down in TLC and what happened this week in WWE. All right, folks, we're back here on the Hoots Podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed your day so far. Right now, we're going to be talking about what happened this week in WWE. We're just coming off the heels of the TLC pay-per-view, the final pay-per-view installment of the year for WWE, this past Sunday from the Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. And really enjoyed covering this event from top to bottom this past Sunday. You guys can go check out that article on ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. Just a really strong bookend to a really good year of pay-per-views for the WWE this year, in my opinion. No matter how you feel about their weekly programming, the pay-per-views have been top-notch and just you get your money's worth, especially from just a lot of the matches, the pay-per-views this year, from top to bottom, no matter what division or brand it is. Looking at seeing the Hurt Business become the Raw Tag Team Champions, I thought that was really cool. Another good match with the New Day. Big shout out to Carmella and Sasha Banks for what they pulled off at TLC. I always am the advocate of maximizing your TV time because that's the most important real estate you'll ever have on any wrestling programming. Doesn't matter what's on the pencil or who's going over. It's on you to get yourself over. I remember Bully Ray says this a lot. It's not who goes over, it's who gets over. And that's very true. Looking at the stuff that Sasha and Carmella have been doing on TV over the last couple of weeks, has been really good. And I really do hope in a way that they still continue to find a way to feud with each other. I'm not saying this is something that you need to drag out to WrestleMania or anything like that. But Carmella has done such a good job since her return in the fact that, I wouldn't mind seeing her get another shot at the Royal Rumble, And that's the thing, you don't have to rush to have Sasha Banks fight Bianca Belair at the Royal Rumble. You don't have to rush into that. We can see that down the road. Carmella did such a good job at TLC that I want to see another match with Carmella and Sasha Banks at the Royal Rumble. I just really do. What else stood out to me? Let's talk about the WWE title TLC match with Drew McIntyre, AJ Styles, and The Miz cashing his Money in the Bank contract. And we can touch some stuff from Raw with this as well. And we can also tie into this continuing fickle hate with Drew McIntyre that I just don't understand. Or, I not that I don't want to acknowledge, it's just odd to me. It just paints another bad picture of wrestling Twitter where they'll tell you one thing that they want, and then when WWE gives it to them, then it's no. You're doing this, you're doing that. You guys put them in a position where they can't win, and And yeah, do they make mistakes? Sure, but as much as you think you know what's really going on with WWE, you really don't, because you don't apply context to their storylines. You think that none of them make sense, but you're not actually following along with the actual story. And I can say that as a guy who breaks down these shows every single week. Let's look at Drew McIntyre and AJ. They killed it. Some really nasty spots. McIntyre got worked on his leg with the whole calf crusher, the ladder, and the chair was pretty nasty. I know AJ took a couple nasty bumps through tables on the outside. Whatever composed Miz to cash in his briefcase at the time, it was really gutsy on his part. And, you know, you had John Morrison come out there, and I thought it was pretty funny that almost put Miz through a table. He put Morrison through a table on Monday's show. I thought that was interesting. And then Drew McIntyre, the right choice to retain his WWE title over AJ Styles, and I thought that was a good match. And here's the thing, especially when they get to a regular wrestling match, then that's going to be even more money. So, yeah, I like Drew McIntyre. Sue me. I really don't care. Drew McIntyre is freaking awesome, and he's legit. He's a real world champion, and he's definitely deserving of all the accolades that he gets. Just really happy for his success, and that's a good success story, especially when you get told no, or you get told that you can't work at some place, or you get pushed to the side, and you start questioning yourself when you think that you're on the top of the world, and it all starts crashing down on you. It really shows your character where you fight back and get back to even higher level than you were before. So I have the utmost respect for Jim McIntyre and his journey and what he's been doing right now, even during these times of the pandemic. And I don't think that's stuff that people choose to point out because, hey, folks, we all have experience booking, right? Let's talk about booking. No, let's not talk about booking because who gives a shit about that? It was really nice to see the Queen come back, gracing us with her presence. Woo! Asuka and Charlotte are your brand new Raw Tag Team Champions, finally ending this horrible reign of Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. Really good to see Charlotte back on TV this week. It's crazy, man. She's already got people lying about her being on TV too much. When you're that good, it's just going to come with the territory. They're just going to downgrade and just talk crap about everything you do because you're just that damn good. And she looks damn good, too. That's a good combination. It was great to see Charlotte back on TV. Like I said, this was a fun pay-per-view. There wasn't really much that I hated or was indifferent to. You look at Kevin Owens against Roman Reigns in the TLC match. That was probably my favorite match of the show besides Sasha and Carmella. That match with Roman and Kevin was awesome. The storytelling was on point. I thought Cole and Graves did a great job on commentary during that match. Just the stuff going on with Jey Uso was really interesting. I have to mention this. Bryan Alvarez is by far the worst on-air analyst in any form of entertainment or sport. For a guy that makes 7 videos per week trying to point out logic holes in WWE shows, but he doesn't do it for AEW. Hey, man, like we said last week, where's that W9 format, man? Did you get your 1090 yet? I need to know. We need to know the invoices that Alvarez is getting from AEW. We just need to know. This dude, while openly knowing that the whole story going into the Roman Reigns Kevin Owens match is the fact that Kevin Owens doesn't die and doesn't need people's help, he goes on a soliloquy about, oh, this was too long and too much of a handicap match and nobody has sympathy for Kevin Owens and where's Daniel Bryan? Oh, because we need to rush Daniel Bryan out and give false hope for, oh, we're going to recreate 2014 and 2015 again. Because that was so awesome back then, you know? Like, oh my god, Daniel Bryan had this legendary WrestleMania moment, and I'm like, okay. Yet, the one thing people talk about the most still from that WrestleMania is the Street comes in. So, like, I just don't get it. Like, this dude goes on so many soliloquies and try to grasp at straws for things to bitch about that it's just becoming comical at this point. Like, I don't lose sleep over it. I don't get mad about it. I just laugh because it's like, you're just making an ass out of yourself. And the way you sound on your podcast, too, is even worse. No, Daniel Bryan coming out to say Kevin Owens during the match with Jey Uso would have done anything. Because Daniel Bryan has nothing to do with that. Like, yeah, he had the thing with Jey Uso, but Bryan has nothing to do with the Tribal Chief. And the Tribal Chief of Pro Wrestling still reigns supreme as your Universal Champion. And I'm curious to see what they do tomorrow night with the Steel Cage match with Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. That should be a good one as well. All right. And then, of course, I can't go on without mentioning what's going on with Randy Orton and The Fiend. One thing I was not expecting to close 2020 was seeing murder on the pay-per-view. I was watching this pay-per-view at my uncle's house on Sunday, and just the visual of Randy Orton literally putting the Fiend on fire. Shout out to the WWE production stuff for how they shot that at the end of the show. I thought that was really a really cool visual. Really some gore stuff, and I'm not into like horror flicks or stuff like that, but even I thought that looked pretty cool. Just the whole vibe of that Inferno match was pretty cool. You know, you had the fire around these screens. It felt like a fight. And this is where we get to the situation of the Fiend and where you believe wins or losses matter. Because I don't. I think they matter to a certain extent, but they're not the end-all, be-all. I'll say that. Does anybody remember the win-loss record of Mick Foley? Outside of the street, does anybody remember the win-loss record of The Undertaker? Or Kane? Or Kevin Sullivan? Is there anybody out there without going to wrestling reference sites or Cage Eye Seats or any of those sites? Can somebody tell me what Kevin Sullivan's win-loss record was? Look, it'd be one thing where I thought The Fiend was just a jobber and had no value to the show like Dolph Ziggler, alright? But The Fiend character is not about winning titles. And we talked about this with Hoodie last year. The Fiend never needed a Universal title. The Fiend never needed a WWE title. The character is about getting receipts on performers who've done Bray Wyatt wrong in the past. But also, along that path, you have The Fiend there, and he could change those said people at the time. You got The Miz, you got Daniel Bryan, you got John Cena, Braun Strowman changed. We'll see what goes on with Randy Orton next. Speaking of Randy Orton, he had a pretty interesting segment this week with the one and only beautiful Alexa Bliss in the debut of Alexa's Playground on Monday Night Raw.
The Fiend is no more.
wondering where he is. He could be at a tanning salon. He was looking a little pale. Or, it's pretty good weather right now in Florida. He could be at the beach. But I hope he doesn't get sunburned. Or, he could be at his favorite restaurant, eating his favorite food. Barbecue. But you're right, Randy. It was right here. Right here where you can still see and smell what you did to his fetid flesh. I mean, he's not here right now. It's almost as if he absorbed into the mat. Under the ground, under each layer of the earth. He's home. But if he ever leaves home, he may come back to Alexa's playground. And if he does, it'll be like nothing you've ever seen before.
By God, pal, by God. How awesome was that? I mentioned this to Brother Carter last week. Like, Alexa has so much of, like, movie characteristics to her. Like, I just love hearing her do her stuff on TV. She's awesome. Just the whole visual purple lighting of that whole Alexa playground segment, I thought that was really, really dope. So, really cool to see that. All right. When it comes to Monday Night Raw, I thought it was a pretty solid show. It wasn't anything great or horrible, in my opinion. The only thing negative I don't like is Tom Phillips, but that's breaking news. That guy is brutal on commentary. It was a really strong night for the ladies. Like, I got to give a shout out to Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, who put on a really good match with Nia and Shayna on Raw. The women, I think, almost had a half of TV time on Raw this week, which was really something. I thought it was a nice, like, spotlighted division. It was a good spotlight in the division on all fronts. Like, you just heard Alexa Bliss right there. Charlotte and Asuka had a busy night. We saw Peyton Royce and Lacey Evans on our screen. We saw, like I said, Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. I just thought it was a good night for the division overall. One thing I would say, though, I would have liked to see Angel Garza and Drew Gulak get some more time because I think that would have been a really good match, but it was nice to see them on TV. The match with the Hurt Business and Riddle and Hardy was fine. Maybe that can be a good tag title feud down the road for Raw. I wouldn't mind that. Business is still booming, pal. Don't forget about that. Business is still booming. And then, we had the six-man street fight with Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, and Keith Lee against The Miz, John Morrison, and AJ Styles. It had growing tension the entire night with Sheamus and Keith Lee. There was incidental content during the match, and then that caused Sheamus to bro kick Keith Lee after the match was over. I thought that was a pretty funny spot. I gotta admit that was pretty funny. But overall, I thought Raw was pretty decent this week. If you guys haven't seen it yet this week, go check that out. So, with that being said, that's pretty much it. I know for tomorrow we got a big special for SmackDown since it's the Christmas show. They got a couple of title matches, actually 3 title matches. We got Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens for the Universal title in the Steel Cage match. A triple threat match for the SmackDown, well, not for the SmackDown, but for the women's tag team titles. We got Charlotte and Asuka against Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair and Bayley and Carmella. I think that should be a barn burner. I'm looking forward to that. And then Big E against Sami Zayn in the main event for the Intercontinental Championship. I think that'd be pretty funny and some good shit, pal. By the way, if you haven't heard the Sami Zayn leak video of him ripping off Tom Cruise yelling at his staff. It's freaking hilarious. I was crying listening to that last week. It was really good and some good journalism work right there for Caleb Braxton. So, all right, folks, that's what went down this week in WWE. When I come back, I'll be breaking down the card for Wrestle Kingdom 15 right here on the Hoots Podcast. All right, folks, just got back from taking a swig of water. Back here on the Hoots Podcast, ready to break down the matches that have been confirmed for Wrestle Kingdom 15, taking place at a 2-night event on January 4th and January 5th. 2 long nights ahead for your boy in the coming weeks. The biggest event of the year for New Japan Pro Wrestling at the Tokyo Dome. There are 12 matches announced on this card. I wanted to come on here and break those down for you before we make our predictions for next week. For that big event. So let's get started, shall we? Dark match for night 1 will be a New Japan Rambo, aka a Battle Royal, so we'll see what goes down there. The Wrestle Kingdom Battle Royal has always been fun and entertaining over the years, I will say that. Hiromu Takahashi will take on El Phantasmo. The winner will take on Taiji Ishimori the next night for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Zack Sabre Jr. Taichi putting the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles on the line against the winners of the World Tag League. Guerrillas of Destiny, Jade will be alongside at ringside. Kenta putting his U.S. Heavyweight rights to challenge contract on the line against Satoshi Kojima after Juice Robinson suffered a fractured orbital bone. It was a bummer because I was really looking forward to see Kenta versus Juice. I hope Juice gets recovered soon. Let's see. Hiroshi Tanahashi against the Great Okan. Okada versus Ospreay. The semi-main event for that event with B. Priestley at ringside. And then the main event for night 1 is Naito against Ibushi for the double titles. Night number 2, dark match will be featuring a match from Stardom. There will be a fatal 4-way matches with participants not announced yet for this KOPW trophy thing they continue on with Yano and stuff. So I'm pretty sure Yano will be in it. El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru against Taguchi and Master Wato for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles. Shingo against Jeff Cobb for the Never Openweight Championship. Sonata having a grudge match with Evil, like I just mentioned a couple minutes ago. Ishimori against the winner of Hiromu Takahashi and El Phantasmo. And then the main event for night 2, Jay White taking on the winner of Naito and Ibushi. This is a really good card. It really is. But there's one problem. 2 problems, actually. One, where in the blue hell is Ishii? And where in the blue hell is Suzuki? You can't tell me that we're going to have Wrestle Kingdom without those guys in the show. Is Ishii hurt? Is this news that I missed? I need to know this. This is very important news because you can't have Wrestle Kingdom without Ishii. Hell, I would just put Ishii for Suzuki on the card just for the hell of it. No storyline or anything. Just beat the crap out of each other. I think it'd be really dope. So, all that being said, you know, I am looking forward to cover the event. This will be my, let's see, I've done 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Wow. This will be my 7th Wrestle Kingdom that I've covered. That's insane, man. Time goes by fast when you're having fun, right? So, all that being said, I'm looking forward to the event. I mean, you look at Sonata and Evil, that's just like a great grudge match, and the fact that These guys are no longer stablemates with each other. It makes sense that these guys would fight each other at Wrestle Kingdom. You look at Shingo against Jeff Cobb. That's going to be an awesome match. I'm still kind of skeptical as to why Tanahashi is fighting the Great Okada on the show. I just don't get it. Okada and Ospreay obviously should be a barn burner. This is probably the biggest match in Ospreay's career, if we're being honest with ourselves. That match is going to be insane. So that should be a fun one to jot down as well. And then, of course, like I put this on Twitter that I think GOD and Dangerous Tekkers can steal the show. I like the matches they've had already. The match they had in the World Tag League was insane. So I wouldn't be surprised by what goes down this match. No disrespect to Kojima, I just don't know why he's fighting Kenta. You could have picked out Goto, Ishii, anybody. It has to be Kojima. I don't know about that. But yeah, that's the card right now for Wrestle Kingdom 15, and it should be a fun show. All right, with that all being said, it's time for everybody's favorite segment in all of podcasting, the moment you all been waiting for here on the Hoots podcast, the one and only restaurant quality edition of What the Hell is Wrong with AEW. And we're going to start it off with the one and only Bert Carter in 3, 2, 1.
It's time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW.
What the hell is wrong with AEW? Ladies and gentlemen, Festivus was yesterday, one of the great holiday traditions that happens this time of year. And one of the most important and prominent features of Festivus is the airing of grievances. And ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly what we're going to be doing this week. This is my way to celebrate Festivus, is to air my grievances with this God-forsaken, ridiculous, just completely awful wrestling promotion. Okay, the show begins with MJF and Chris Jericho taking on Top Flight. Again, we know what we're getting. MJF is a star. There's no question about it. He is a superstar. Chris Jericho has become a former shell of himself, and his career is going down the toilet at a rapid rate, and he needs to get out and try to salvage whatever part of his career he possibly can. And Top Flight is they are what they are. They're getting their, they feel that their style of wrestling is what works for them. And fine, I've said that Top Flight is a talented team and it's two very good athletes. But at some point, they're going to have to get away from this high flyer stuff and do something that is be able to tell a story. Because right now they can't tell a story. So again, that's what we know what we're getting with this. MJF is the star. Jericho sucks. And Top Flight, again, great athletes. One of them is 19 years old, which to me is still just mind-blowing how cool that is. But again, it just is what it is. Okay, it is very obvious that AEW is trying to get this nostalgia thing with Tony Schiavone saying, "It's Sting!" and that whole thing. That gimmick is not going to sustain for a long period of time. Like, that's what they're trying to build this around. This whole Sting thing with Schiavone. It was cool once and it was fine, but that thing has run its course. And, it's just AEW trying to build off nostalgia. They're not trying to do something creative. They're not trying to be their own individual company. They're just trying to, basically they're trying to do what WCW did and take nostalgia acts and bring it back to the modern day. And it's fine for a little while, but at the end of the day, that's going to run its course. That what they do as a wrestling promotion is going to run its course. And we're seeing that with Sting, and that's going to happen very soon, I think, anyway. And so it's just, don't be surprised when eventually that's what's going to happen. Now, Taz came out and pointed that out, which was great. And he was the best part of that promo, because Taz actually knows how to cut a promo. And, we're finally, at some point, we're going to get something, I hope, with Sting and Sting and Darby Allin and Taz and stuff like that. It's just, again, I just don't know what the focus is. Is Taz focusing on Cody? Is Taz focusing on Sting? Is Taz focusing on Darby Allin? Is Cody focusing on Taz? Is Cody focusing on Sting? Like, I just don't know. And Cody wasn't on the show this week, which is fine. But I just don't understand where all this is going. It just doesn't make any sense at all. Jurassic Express takes on the Dark Order. The best part about that was when Tully Blanchard came on the screen and got Marco Stunt to shut up. That was the best part about that match. Again, I like Jungle Boy Jack Perry. I like Luchasaurus. I really do. I don't really particularly care for these three members, Colt Cabana and 5 and 10. I really particularly don't care for them. And the match was fine. Again, the best part about that was when FTR, who is a legitimate, fantastic tag team, came on the screen and got Marco Stunt to shut up. It just was what it was. Pac comes out and takes on the Butcher. Again, I think Pac is world championship material. Eddie Kingston on the microphone is fantastic. He's a brilliant heel, and I want to see more of him. But other than that, the Butcher's kind of useless. Don't really care about the Blade, and it was what it was. Okay. Miro sucks balls. Miro sucks in the worst way possible. He's awful. Everything Miro does is absolute garbage. I say it down here every week. I can see why WWE got rid of him, because Miro absolutely sucks in every way, shape, and form. We get this segment where Kip Sabian, Times New Roman font, and Penelope come out to announce their wedding. They send the best friends to the hospital. I actually didn't have a problem with that. That's fine. They're furthering that storyline. Don't have a problem with that. That's totally fine. But just Miro's delivery and his presentation and what he tries to do with Tony Schiavone and this whole best man thing, it's very obvious why WWE got rid of him. He's boring. He's unentertaining. He's okay in the ring. But I just don't care about Miro at all. And it's, with him and Lana, it's, the married couple, it's clearly who the star out of that pair is. And it ain't Miro. I'll say that. Dustin Rhodes won against Evil Uno. That's fine. I have no problems with that. I say this every week. All Elite Wrestling needs to be embarrassed and ashamed of how they treat their women's division. Again, you've got Hikaru Shida, the champion, who I haven't seen on television for a little while, basically destroy an opponent that I can't even remember her name. She's 1-4. And that's the kind of matching we're getting with their women's division. Abaddon comes out, and it's clearly that Abaddon and Shida are going to be having a feud. They announced that they're going to have Abaddon and Shida next week. Again, I like the Abaddon character. We'll see where this goes. But Abaddon bit Shida like she's a zombie. And then you saw all this blood coming out of Shida's neck. The way the blood was coming out, it looks like Shida should have been murdered. And nobody came out to help her. What are you talking about? It looked like Abaddon tried to bite her like a zombie and commit murder. Is Shida come out next week like a zombie or something like that? And that's going to be Abaddon's, gimmick, is that she's going to create zombies out of the women's division? What the hell? The women's division in All Elite Wrestling, again, everybody except women, because they don't feature their performers every single week. I can't really remember who's in their women's division because we don't see them every week. They're booked horribly. They're not given a fair shot. They get one segment, maybe 1.5 segments per week, and it's embarrassing. And if I was a female performer, I would want nothing to do with All Elite Wrestling. And then, of course, the Young Bucks defeat the Acclaimed. Shocker. The Acclaimed rapping gimmick is annoying as hell. Again, and the Young Bucks match, it is what it is. Every time you see the Young Bucks, you know we're going to get blah, 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 spot, blah, 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 super kick party, blah, 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 spot, blah, 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 super kick party, double V trigger, get the pin and get the win. That's what you get from Young Bucks match. I'm starting to get bored with Young Bucks matches because they don't tell a story. It's just spot, 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 spot. So it's the same thing every week. It's boring. It's repetitive. All Elite Wrestling. The only reason I watch it is because we report on it here on the Hoots podcast. On the Hoots podcast. See, I'm so upset about it. I can barely even say the name of the show. That's how upset I am. Those are my airing of grievances. Seriously, what the hell is wrong with AEW?
This has been What the Hell is Wrong with AEW.
Thank you very much, Brother Carter, for the submission this week. Always appreciate you, as always. The airing of grievances. Oh, boy. We were having this conversation about this last night. Like, that's what this segment is in a nutshell, right? The airing of our grievances with this outlaw mud show extravaganza. All right. So, AEW decided to put on their mud show fest after the opening games of the 2021 NBA season, right? And we started off with the Inner Circle versus Top Flight. And again, outside of MJF, this match was all over the place from a transcription point of view. And I hate to be a broken record here, but again, you can't claim to have the best tag team division when your match layouts make no sense. And the referees are made to look bad. And this happened a lot on this show. And I don't know who runs the time or, like that time producer in the back. I don't know who decides how long certain matches are, but that person's on my shit list because some of these matches just go on and on and on and on. Like that freaking Zoo Express Dork Order match. Or, I trust me, I love Dustin Rhodes, and the stuff with him and Evil Uno's been funny. Like, Uno trying to get Dustin to join the Dark Order and calling him number 7. I thought that was pretty funny. But, man, not Tony Khan, Money Mark Jones, not every match needs to be 2 commercial breaks. You don't need every match to have 2 segments. And then I was looking at the rest of the show, and it's like, okay, here's Tanzu Roman Font announcing his wedding date with Miro. I totally agree with everything Brett Carter said about Miro, because there's nothing really else that needs to be said. He hasn't done jack shit. He hasn't made one lick of a difference since joining AEW. And then, let's talk about this. Tony Khan, again, just having brutal paid ads and these promos on Impact Wrestling. Who finds these entertaining? You're not a wrestler. You're not even an interesting personality. Get off my television screen. Freaking Money Mark Jones. Holy shit. My favorite part of the show last night, again, FTR for the second week in a row. Tully Blanchard just absolutely buried the Jurassic Express, and he's like, hey, Stunts and Growth, if you get involved, I may have flashbacks of the 1980s. I thought that line popped me. I thought that was great. See, there's stuff that I do like occasionally here on AEW. Like Pac and Butcher, I thought that was a really good match. Eddie Kingston commentary was fine. Always nice to see him on the screen. I still don't understand why we're having these sloppy post-match brawls, and just because you have people run into the ring after a match over, it doesn't always mean that, hey, this is a reason to necessitate character development. You just having people brawl just for the sake to have them on TV instead of actually taking them to the next level. Because honestly, out of all the guys that Jon Moxley put down during his title reign, have any of them made any progress since losing to Jon Moxley? Anybody? I'll wait for that answer. Officer Bar Brady interviewed Kenny Olivier and Don Callis. Again, Olivier is not in the same league as Nick Bockwinkel. I can't believe people are making that comparison. I want to wrap up this segment this week by talking about this. The Young Bucks, Buck Hogan and Buck Hogan and Baldy Buck taking on the Acclaimed. And this is my biggest issue with AEW this week. This is my airing of grievances. What warrants, what constitutes, what matches are allowed to be on air, on TV, or on Dark? Because, for the company that touts that we're going to be sports-based and all this stuff, if you look at the record of the Acclaim, yeah, JR mentioned it. Oh, they won 7 matches in a row. They're beating freaking J-Brones. Okay, and when you look at the match pairings, right? So you have the Young Bucks with a 25 win-loss record, right? And then the Acclaim are 7-1. It's a total mismatch. If you look at this on paper, right? Okay, we have somebody with a 28-7 record against somebody who's 3-6. Yet the match goes on for 20 minutes. Would that make sense to you as a sports fan? Let's say you have Kenny Olivier versus, pick out of the litter, Lee Johnson, right? Lee Johnson I think he's had one victory in AEW or not. I think he's either 1 or 24 or 125. Either way, you would understand that'd be a mismatch, right? But no, every match at AEW has to be competitive for the sake of competition. And it's just off-putting when, okay, the Dark Order is beating up on Dustin Rhodes after the match, yet Stu Grayson, who beat Lee Johnson on Dark this week, has to scurry away, and Lee Johnson makes the save. This guy, you guys treat him like crap on Dark. Yeah, I'm supposed to believe that he's the next up-and-coming rising star? Come on. And then we have to repeat ourselves each and every single week. They can't get out of their own way. We got to have Sting out there and do this freaking podcast reflection session with Tony Schiavone with Team Taz out there. Where is this going? It's just there. Most editions of AEW Dynamite, it's just there. It doesn't pull anything out of me. It's not something that I'm clinging on for more. It's something that it doesn't satiate anything inside of me. It's something that I crave for. It's something that I want to see again. It's outlaw. It's macho light. And it's just not fun to watch. I'm trying to process now, and I could kind of see how people are reviewing WCW Thunder when it was live. The show's not good. This is the time of season's beatings, right? Well, us as wrestling fans took a beating this week on AEW Dynamite. And that is what the hell is wrong with AEW. Money, Mark Jones. Give me a break, man. All right, folks. We're going to wrap it up right there. I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your schedule to listen to this fun extravaganza this week. I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday weekend, and we'll be back here next week. This is not the last episode of 2020. We'll wrap it up with a bang next week, and looking forward to that. And really quick, you guys can follow me on Twitter if you like at the Hoots Podcast. I'm also on Instagram at Joshie Lopez94. That's Joshie Lopez94. You can also check me out at Josh Lopez Music if you want to see me do some guitar covers. Make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. And if you could, please leave us a 4 or 5-star review or rating on Apple Podcasts to help expand the reach of the show. Also, it comes to you free of charge every single Thursday at Apple Podcasts or anywhere you get your podcasts from. So subscribe to the pod right now. Thank you to Brother Carter as always. Always want to mention this, guys. Remember, you are the authentic product that is yourself, and you are dictating the pace of your life. Nobody else. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Have some fun. And with all that being said, this has been episode 237 of the Hoots Podcast. And next week we'll be making predictions for Wrestle Kingdom 15. And we'll have a lot more fun right here on the Hoots Podcast. All right, folks. I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday weekend. And right now we're going to send out to Brother Carter for a brand new edition of the Thoughts of Dericho. We love you guys. We'll talk to you guys next week. Yes, sir.
And now, the Thoughts of Dericho. Listen well, man.
Welcome, one and all, to the final installment of your second favorite segment in all of wrestling podcasting. It is the Thoughts of Dericho, featuring the one, the only, Brother Carter. I say the your second most favorite because obviously your favorite segment is the one that you heard from me earlier in the show. But I digress. Let's begin this week's edition of the Thoughts of Dericho by talking about TLC, and I just really enjoyed this show from top to bottom. I thought it was some just outstanding action all throughout the entire show, and I was very happy about how everything turned out. Starting off the show, great match with Drew McIntyre and AJ Styles, a TLC match. And then The Miz comes in and he attempts to do his cash-in, which was fine. I'm kind of sad about the cash-in, actually, because I'd hoped that this would lead to The Miz once again becoming WWE champion. But I understand that they just couldn't quite figure out anything for him to do right now, and they didn't want to keep the briefcase on him forever. So that's fine. It's a very easy way, and we saw on Raw this week he's negotiating the system to try to get the contract back. So there's always a way to get the Miz back into the world title picture where he belongs. And I hope that he does get a world championship run in 2021 once fans come back and stuff like that. But anyways, great match to open the show. McIntyre and Styles are on a whole nother level, and it's absolutely terrific. Really great match with Carmella and Sasha Banks. This might have been some of Carmella's best in-ring work, and Sasha Banks has just been on a steady rise for all of 2020, just getting better and better and better each week, and she's been phenomenal. Her and Carmella put on an excellent match, and I really, really enjoyed that in that match overall. Great storytelling, great in-ring action, and I enjoyed that very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the Hurt Business is the best faction in WWE, and now they are tag team champions. Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin are your new Raw Tag Team Champions, which I thought was a great move. It was time for that to happen, and continuing to establish the Hurt Business as a fantastic faction. Going forward with that, I've said this a couple times when I live tweet about it on Wrestling Rumors, but MVP needs to be world champion in 2021 to complete the staple. That way, every member of the Hurt Business has gold, kind of like Evolution did back in the day. And I think that at some point, I'd love to see MVP get a world title run, even as for a month, just to say that every member of the Hurt Business has gold. I think that would be absolutely great. But congratulations to Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin for becoming the new Raw Tag Team Champions. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Shelton Benjamin a little bit later in this segment. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, my girl, the GOAT of women's professional wrestling, is back. Woo! Charlotte Flair makes her return to TLC and teams with Asuka to become your new women's tag team champions. I love that. Josh made that correct call last week on the show. Nailed that call, so congratulations to Josh on the pick, and so happy to see the Queen back. I've said this many, many times. I've wrote an opinion piece about this. Charlotte Flair has already established herself as the greatest of all time when it comes to women's wrestling, and I think it's not even close. She is the GOAT, and she's back, and that's always best for business. I want to see Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens happen again. They had a great match, and I think it will happen again. I think we'll see it at the Royal Rumble. We're going to get a steel cage match this week, and I have a feeling that there'll be some shenanigans with this as well. And I hope that we get another match between them at the Royal Rumble, because that was an incredible, the two put on a clinic. Roman Reigns was fantastic. Kevin Owens is fantastic. It's just absolutely must-see TV. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, and congratulations to all the performers involved. Again, we get a steel cage match this week on SmackDown, but I have a feeling that there will be some controversy with that as well, and they'll get another match between Owens and Reigns with some up to stipulation at the Royal Rumble. The Fiend, in my opinion, has taken over Roman Reigns, and it goes back and forth on whether I like The Fiend the best or Roman Reigns the best. I mean, they're 1 and 2 in WWE right now. Really all of professional wrestling right now. Roman Reigns and The Fiend are 1 and 2. The Fiend has slightly moved ahead of Roman Reigns for the fact that I thought that Reigns acted too much kind of like a chicken heel at TLC. Just a little bit starting too much. I wanted to see more of his badass character where he doesn't push him around and taunts him and go, "What you doing, boy? What you doing, boy?" Like when he's pushing pushing Kevin Owens around like traditional heels do. I don't really like that. I just prefer he just comes in, kicks ass, and then leaves. So, the Fiend's entrance is amazing. I want to see it live at some point. It's just, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. Just the Fiend coming out and the yowie wowie stuff, his new entrance music when he comes out. It's very special when the Fiend makes his entrance to the ring to get ready to wrestle. It's incredible. But holy crap, he got set on fire. That was, the production value of that was tremendous. I know a lot of people are going to be upset about it and say, obviously there's going to be two sides to that, and people are not going to be happy about seeing the Fiend, somebody get set on fire live at a show, but the production value was incredible when the Fiend put up his arms to set the Thunderdome on fire, or the inner of the Thunderdome on fire. I thought the WWE did a great job with this. There's been reports out that USA has wanted more edgy content, and I mean, I'm telling you, how much more edgy can it get than this? It can obviously get more edgier, but they want more darker kind of stuff, and this is pretty dark. I mean, Randy Orton set a human being on fire. Now, obviously, it was a dummy and stuff like that, but whoa, that was quite a moment, and that's going to lead to something. I think we're going to get another match between them at the Royal Rumble, or the Fiend comes back and wins the Royal Rumble, or something. But keep the Fiend off TV for a while. And then Alexa Bliss came out on Raw, and jeez, that was awesome. She is just on a whole nother level, Alexa Bliss. My God. The only thing that would have made their segment better on Raw is if Alexa Bliss hit an RKO, or if Randy Orton hit an RKO on Alexa Bliss, which I think is going to happen at some point, but then Alexa Bliss can hit Sister Abigail on Randy Orton, or even the RKO on Randy Orton. That'd be cool too. But great, just a great way to end the show, and a great show overall for the TLC pay-per-view for 2020. I want to say something real quick before I get into my final portion of the Thoughts of Dericho this week. I wrote an opinion piece on Wrestling Rumors, which everyone should check out, about how you can have fans at the 2021 Royal Rumble, and I really think that should happen. And again, you'll read my article about that, but the gist of it is, have the Royal Rumble in a football stadium, and that way you can have fans there. They've been doing it with football games in the fall, and AEW did it for all of its faults. AEW was able to pull it off at the Jacksonville Jaguar Stadium. So, anyways, check out my article on Wrestling Rumors about how to have fans at the 2021 Royal Rumble, and why I think that's a very important thing. I'm going to close out this week by giving my Year of 2020 awards. We'll get into Raw and SmackDown, stuff like that. I could talk about that more in 2021. But I do want to get into my awards for the year, and I'm going to base this a little bit on the Slammy Awards. The Slammy Awards happened yesterday. Yes, they happened yesterday. And so you can see what happened with that. So I'm just going to give a few... I'm not going to do everything, but I'm just going to give a few awards out for my year-end awards. And I'm going to focus on just the best things that I enjoyed this year. If we want to do some worst things, I mean, we can certainly do that. But I'm going to just focus on the best things and things I enjoyed the most this year. And again, some of this stuff is going to come from the Slammy Award winners that I noticed. I want to start with Most Improved Superstar of the Year, or Superstar that I think has gotten the biggest push. And for me, it's Cedric Alexander. I think what Cedric Alexander has done since joining the Hurt Business has been nothing short of remarkable. And his career has been on a huge upward trajectory. So I'm going to say that the Most Improved Superstar of the Year is Cedric Alexander. Breakout Star of the Year, I actually am going to go with Bianca Belair as the Breakout Star of the Year. I think that she's been doing incredible work as the EST of WWE, and I think she's going to have a major 2021. So I'm going to go with Bianca Belair as the superstar of the year overall. And again, if I feel that somebody in AEW is worthy of an award, I will give it to them. But I'm just going on by my just general thoughts overall. And if you ever want to see me give some categories, I might be able to get something in for the first of 2021. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So that is my award for Breakout Star of the Year. Tag Team of the Year, that's tricky. I'm going to say it's the Hurt Business, honestly. I love what the Hurt Business has been doing recently. I think that they've been doing some incredible work. You can make the argument that the Street Profits, who are certainly in there, the New Day, of course. But to me, you could argue the Street Profits for sure, because they are fantastic. I love the Street Profits. But I'm going to say that the Hurt Business are your Tag Team of the Year. I'll just give a few more here to wrap this thing up. Match of the Year for me is the same one that the Slimy Awards picked, and that's the Boneyard match from WrestleMania 36. That I think launched a whole new genre of professional wrestling, and is going to be a match that is going to go down in history as one of the most important matches in the history of professional wrestling. You know, when they had to shut things down because of the pandemic, they had to get creative. And what AJ Styles and The Undertaker accomplished at WrestleMania 36 was amazing. So my match of the year is the Boneyard match from WrestleMania 36. Female Superstar of the Year for me, this one was tough. This one is tough. I'm going to go with Sasha Banks because I still think that Charlotte is the best wrestler in the world, but what she was able to accomplish in 2020 and how much improvement she has made, I'm going to go with Sasha Banks as the female superstar of the year for professional wrestling. Let's see, what else can we take a look at here? Moment of the year, I can do that one. For me, that's when Becky Lynch announced she was pregnant. That just is an emotional moment for everyone involved, and you can just, Asuka was playing a heel at the time, and, she was emotional because she didn't know what was going on. So for me, my moment of the year was when Becky Lynch announced that she was pregnant. And again, congratulations to her. I think that's absolutely terrific for her, and really, 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 really great stuff. And you know what? I'm just going to do a couple more here. If we want to get into some worst awards, for me, if I'm saying worst promotion of the year, worst thing is anything All Elite Wrestling does. I just can't stand that company. My worst superstar of the year, but there's so many you could go with. You could say Miro, Chris Jericho. There's so many there. So I should try to focus on the positive stuff. My male superstar of the year is the same as my overall superstar of the year for 2020, which is Drew McIntyre. What Drew McIntyre has done to lead the company through the pandemic has been, he deserves all the accolades in the world for what he was able to do, and the role that was placed on him to lead the company through a pandemic. He had his opportunity to win the title in front of 70,000 fans, taken away about 2 weeks before he was about to do that. And he has been a professional, a leader, a role model, and everything that you could ask of the face of your company. So that, for those reasons, my male superstar and my superstar of the year for the year 2020 is Drew McIntyre. And that is the final edition of the Thoughts of Dericho for 2020. I won't be able to send something in next week. I got some family coming into town and doing some stuff, so I won't be able to record or watch the shows next week. But I will be back on the Hoots podcast for the first episode of 2021. I would like to take a moment to thank all of you for listening, and just thank you for being loyal and wonderful supporters of our podcast. And well, it's Josh and I, it's really Josh's podcast, and I'm just, he says it's our podcast, but he is the brainchild behind this, and I'm humbled and thrilled and honored to be a small part of this. We can't do what we do without you, the wonderful fans. It's been an incredible year for all of us. An emotional year, a difficult year for the podcast. It's been an emotional and difficult year for the human beings and mankind and just the world in general. I hope that we've been able to provide a small amount of entertainment and comfort for you guys, and just to try to help get everybody through this crazy time. And we're going to beat it, and we're going to have a great 2021. It's been an incredible year for the Hoots podcast. We've done some incredible things numbers growth beyond what we could have possibly imagined, and it's going to get even better in 2021. So a huge thank you to all of the fans that have listening, whether you give this a shot for the first time or you're a loyal listener. We can't do what we do without you, and we just appreciate every single one of you so much. I wish you all happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I will see you all in 2021. Continue to wear your masks, guys. Continue to keep the faith. And just know that we're going to get through this, and 2021 is going to be a kick-ass year. Love you guys. Brother Carter, out.
This has been the Thoughts of Dericho. You're smarter now, man.